The holographic display flickered to life in the command center of the Terran Defiance, casting an eerie blue glow across Jackson's weathered face. 3 years had passed since the Galactic Council's unanimous vote to enslave humanity, and now the very species who had condemned Earth were broadcasting desperate pleas for mercy across every frequency. "Another surrender request, Commander," Lily announced from her communication station, her fingers dancing across the quantum interface. Her voice carried no emotion. The young woman had learned to suppress such luxuries during humanity's darkest hour. This time from the Zephyrian Empire, they're offering their entire fleet and 70% of their worlds. Jackson leaned back in his captain's chair, watching the parade of alien faces on the screens before him. Proud Zeltharians who had once declared humans inferior vermin now groveled with tears streaming down their scaled cheeks. The crystalline Vortakians, who had laughed at Earth's primitive technology, were transmitting blueprints of their most advanced weaponry as tribute. "Patch through the High Chancellor of the Galactic Council," Jackson ordered, his voice carrying the weight of a man who had witnessed his species' near extinction and subsequent rise to galactic dominance. The main display shimmered, revealing Chancellor Zirthak, the same being who had called for humanity's enslavement 3 years prior. The proud tentacles that once flared with arrogance now drooped in defeat. His 6 eyes, once filled with contempt for the backwater species, now held nothing but terror. "Commander Jackson," Zirthak's voice trembled through the universal translator. "Please, we were wrong. We underestimated your kind. The Council formally retracts all previous declarations and begs for your mercy." Jackson remembered that day vividly. The day when every major species in the galaxy had voted to reduce humanity to a slave race, claiming humans were too dangerous to remain free. They had cited humanity's unpredictable nature, their excessive emotional responses, and their disturbing capacity for violence. The irony wasn't lost on him now. "You called us monsters," Jackson said quietly, his words carrying across subspace to every corner of the galaxy. "You said we were too violent, too unpredictable to deserve freedom. You sent your fleets to Earth expecting easy conquest." Lily pulled up the tactical displays showing the aftermath of those battles. The graveyard of alien warships floating in Earth's orbit told the story better than words ever could. Humanity hadn't just defended themselves. They had innovated, adapted, and evolved their warfare in ways that defied galactic understanding. "We didn't know," Zirthak pleaded. "We couldn't have predicted your species' capacity for what?" Jackson interrupted. "For survival? For protecting our own? You made one critical error in your assessment, Chancellor." The human commander stood, his presence somehow filling the entire bridge despite being just one man among the stars. Around him, his crew, humans who had lost everything and gained the galaxy, watched with quiet satisfaction. "You assumed our violence made us monsters," Jackson continued. "You never considered that our capacity for violence comes from our capacity to love. Every human who fought in those battles wasn't fighting for conquest or glory. They were fighting for their children, their homes, their right to exist." On the display, alien species across the galaxy watched in silence. The Karathi hegemony, whose warriors were legendary for their brutality, had surrendered after a single human frigate disabled their entire armada using tactics they'd never encountered. The machine-like Nexus Collective, who prided themselves on logical superiority, had been outmaneuvered by human intuition and creativity at every turn. Lily accessed another file displaying casualty reports. "Sir, the final tally shows we lost 2.8 million humans in the initial invasion attempts. The combined alien losses," she paused, 47 billion. It wasn't technology that had won humanity the war, though they had certainly innovated beyond galactic comprehension. It wasn't superior numbers or resources. It was something the galaxy had failed to understand about humanity. When pushed to the brink, humans didn't just fight to win. They fought to ensure their enemy could never threaten them again. The aliens had expected humanity to fight like civilized species, with honor, following established rules of engagement, limiting collateral damage. Instead, humans had fought like humans. They used psychological warfare, turning enemy species against each other. They employed guerrilla tactics that made occupying human worlds impossible. Most terrifyingly, they had shown an unprecedented willingness to sacrifice everything if it meant victory. "What do you want?" Zirthak asked, his voice barely a whisper. What are your terms for peace? Jackson walked to the observation deck, gazing out at the stars that had once seemed so vast and full of promise. Now they were filled with species cowering in fear of the very beings they had tried to enslave. Terms? Jackson smiled, but there was no warmth in it. You wanted to enslave Earth because you deemed us too dangerous for freedom. You've seen what we're capable of when threatened with extinction. Now imagine what we'll become with the entire galaxy as our territory. The silence that followed was deafening. Every alien leader, every military commander, every civilian across thousands of worlds held their breath. However, Jackson continued, his tone softening slightly, humanity isn't interested in ruling through fear alone. We'll accept the galaxy's surrender, but on our terms. Every species will contribute to rebuilding what was destroyed. Every world will provide resources for human expansion. And most importantly, humanity will have final say in all galactic affairs. He turned back to the display. You created the situation, Chancellor. You turned a peaceful species into galactic conquerors because you feared what we might become. Congratulations. You were absolutely right to be afraid. Lily closed the communication channel as alien leaders across the galaxy began transmitting their formal surrenders. The war was over, but for humanity, a new chapter was just beginning. Jackson looked at his crew, survivors all, forged in the crucible of a war they never wanted but had decisively won. Set course for the galactic core, he commanded. It's time to establish the new capital of human space. The galaxy had voted to enslave Earth. Now every species would learn what it meant to serve humanity, and perhaps, in time, they would understand that they had created the very monster they had tried to prevent.